This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you as usual from the mothership of paranormal programming, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Folks, I was, prepping for tonight's show and was fortunate enough to hear an interview with a gentleman that absolutely fascinated me, and on the spot I knew had to have him on Paranormal Stakeout. So it's a real pleasure to introduce to the Paranormal Stakeout family Dr. Albert Taylor. Dr. Taylor is a #1 Los Angeles Times best-selling author, former aeronautical engineer, scientist that worked on the International Space Station. Dr. Taylor has spent 2.5 decades evaluating system designs on a wide variety of top-secret government programs, such as the F-117A Stealth Fighter and the Strategic Defense Initiative Anti-Ballistic Missile Program, otherwise known as Star Wars. Dr. Taylor was born and raised in Southern California. He's currently a paranormal researcher, international lecturer, and speaker. He is also working on his latest book, Journey of the Cosmic Soul, a detailed scientific and spiritual study resulting from over 20 years of out-of-body paranormal and astrophysical research. Beyond that, he is a robotics expert and has been designing and building fully and semi-autonomous robotic probes to support his ongoing research of various types of paranormal phenomenon. His website, www.alberttaylor.com. He's also the author of Soul Traveler. Dr. Taylor, welcome to Paranormal Stakeout.
Thank you, Larry. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I was just really fascinated by your philosophies and your take on the paranormal. What I'd like to give my listeners an idea a little bit about you. How did you give me some of the background of your government programs and some of the things you've been involved in, if you could?
Well, let's say I have to, since I'm going to go way, way back to the beginning, I have to say that everything started at 5 years old. And I was having some paranormal experiences at 5 years old, which led up into my adult life. Now, I'll skip ahead to, because we'll get back to that, but I'll skip ahead to the professional aspect of my life. And I've always been interested in things that fly, flew. Since I was little kid. So at 17 years old, I enlisted in the United States Air Force, and I passed the test for nuclear physics and a few other things, but what my real interest was aeronautics. So I enlisted and got a job in aeronautical engineering. And they sent me to tech school in Texas, and the next thing I knew, I got out of tech school, and I was in Arizona, where a crew chief, ended up in Arizona as a crew chief on the Lockheed U-2, which this was the, if you remember the old missile crisis, the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh, Gary Powers, yeah.
Yeah, with Francis Gary Powers, he was flying a U-2C. And I was a crew chief on the U-2R, which is the blacker one with the longer wings, and you're probably more familiar with that one than the U-2C. So I continued to go to school while I was in the Air Force, and because I had a secret clearance, because you can't work on the U-2 without one, and I was also studied on Skunk Works aircraft, because that's what the U-2, and I was in the same squadron as the SR-71, which is still the fastest aircraft in the world. We were both from Skunk Works. With my experience from Skunk Works, as soon as I got an honorable discharge from the United States Air Force, I got, I like to say, I was lucky enough to work on, but it felt almost like I was snatched up by Lockheed Skunk Works in Burbank. And I immediately got brought in, and I already had the clearance, and they upgraded my clearance. And the next thing I knew, I was on the design team of the Stealth Fighter, and no one even knew about the Stealth Fighter back then. I think Jimmy Carter accidentally mentioned the Stealth Fighter, and Russia launched 2 satellites to spy on us in Burbank, but other than that, no one had ever seen a picture of it. So I worked on that for quite a while on different components there, and I wanted to move on to space systems. So I transferred from there, and I went to Rockwell International, where I worked on Strategic Defense Initiative, which was President Reagan's Star Wars program. Different particle beam weapons, sensing, radar, sensing satellites, and also, since I was the only maintainability logistics engineer there at the facility, I also got a chance to work on a new project they were working on, which ended up being called now today GPS. So I was working on GPS for the military, which I had no idea when I was working on GPS that it would eventually be used by civilians, and I even use it in my car all the time. I had no idea. Yeah, I had no idea. So I was working on GPS. My job was to work. There's 25 vehicles orbiting the Earth right now. My job was to make sure that they were maintainable in case that we wanted to dock the shuttle or bring the shuttle up there and snatch one out of the sky and refurbish it. So that was my job.
I got to interrupt you here, my friend. Sorry to do this, but in just a second here, we got to take our first break. But okay. I want everybody out there to hang with us. I'm with Dr. Albert Taylor, a scientist, author, expert in out-of-body experiences. So stay with us. We'll be back with you on the other side.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Hello, I'm Pete Marsh. With my daughter Justina, we will be presenting the new radio show, Too Good to Be True. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But with the help of Justina's amazing gifts, we're going to gain insight into questions that don't yet have complete answers. Have you wondered who built Stonehenge and for what reason? Why are crop circles found in the same region as Stonehenge and elsewhere? Are crop circles a hoax, or are they created with technologies that we have little knowledge of? Who built the pyramids in Egypt and also in other countries? How and why were they built? Was the Titanic switched with the Britannic as part of a gigantic insurance fraud, or for more insidious reasons? What caused the Tunguska event when trees were flattened over an 800 square mile area in Siberia? Will the new insights be too good to be true? Well, that will depend on what you are prepared to believe. Please join us as we start on this journey together. For more information on Too Good to Be True, visit www.xzbn.net.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
Welcome back, everybody, to Paranormal Stakeout. Tonight we've got Dr. Albert Taylor, aeronautical engineer, scientist, paranormal researcher. Doc, just before the break, we kind of interrupted you there. Finish your background. I want to hear more about your experience with the government.
Let me see. I was on the SDI and GPS, and I was working on other satellite systems. Some of them we called Hangar Queens because they never got launched. We missed the launch windows. So some exploratory satellites I worked on a little bit. And then because I was having, and now I have to back up and go back to 5 years old, I've been having paranormal spiritual experiences happening to me all my life. And because they began to go from happening sometimes like once a week, when I was working on the satellite systems, I was still in DOD, Department of Defense. I started having experiences 3 times a night, and those experiences literally changed my perspective on how I wanted to spend the rest of my life. So I left the Department of Defense programs at Seal Beach, where GPS and all that was built, and I transferred over to McDonnell Douglas, where they were building the space station. And I think President Clinton came in and he asked us to redesign the space station, and that's part of the program, the phase that I got into. And my job was to make sure that the astronauts could, first of all, assemble the space station and use the various tools that they would use on orbit and make sure they were tethered to the spacesuits so they didn't fly away. Also, my job was to make sure that they could maintain the certain components of the space station after it was in orbit and functioning. And so I was responsible for the airlock, which they used to go out into space, EVA, the extravehicular activity. I was also responsible for the command and control node, which all the HAB module and everything, it's like a little Lego that everything plugs to. It has computer stations in there. I was also responsible for the cupola, which attaches to the top of the node, which you see all the astronauts inside of this 8-windowed kind of viewing port that they can look out at the Earth. And I worked on that, and I flew to Johnson Space Center, and I would train astronauts in that big pool that the Apollo astronauts used to train in for the Apollo missions. I trained them in assembly of the space station and evaluated the time. And the thing about it is, while this was happening, I was having just an unbelievable amount of paranormal spiritual experiences.
Okay. I've got to stop you right here and ask, what kind of paranormal experiences? Because it covers a wide variety.
Yeah, it does. Well, I didn't know. I never have used the word paranormal at the time because I didn't know that's what it was. Matter of fact, the only thing I knew about what was happening to me is I would wake up in the middle of the night. It's been happening since I was 5 or 4 even, and I would feel paralyzed. I could see the room, I could hear, but I couldn't move my physical body. And sometimes while I was in that paralysis state, and this would happen after going to bed and falling asleep and then waking up into it, sometimes when I was in that state, I would see humanoid shadows moving around my room, and sometimes actually next to my bed calling my name. I mean, I could actually hear my name being called. And at 5 years old, I have to tell you, I was terrified. And it took everything I could to struggle just to move. And finally, when I could move, I'd jump out of my bed and run out of the room. And my grandmother lived with us at that time. And I'd run into her room and I'd tell her, Grandma, there was something by my bed. I was paralyzed and I couldn't move, and it was calling my name. And she said, "Oh, that's okay, baby." She said, "That was just the witch coming to steal your soul because you were bad yesterday." Okay. I was terrified. That was my grandmother's bedside manner. So Neela and she said, "Now go back to bed." And they sent me back to bed, terrified now that something was coming to steal my soul. That's the superstition that my grandmother grew up with, my mother grew up with, and to this day they still talk about that. So I as an engineer scientist, I couldn't accept that, working on a space station, so I decided to go to the doctor, and I went to a psychiatrist, I went to a neurologist, and I told him some of the symptoms I was having, and I figured it was some type of neurological problem. I didn't think of I wasn't looking for the paranormal, I wasn't looking for my soul, I wasn't looking for any religious experience at all. I was looking to fix this with something that the doctor could help me with, or I was looking to blame it on my parents because it was genetic. And so I was looking for some type of answers. And I got a full clean bill of health, physically, mentally, everything. So I thought, well, this has been happening to me all my life, and it happens to other people in my family. So it may not be necessarily a defect. It's something hereditary, I was thinking. So what I decided to do is I decided to perform experiments on myself. It kept happening, and sometimes, like I mentioned, 3 times a night. So I decided to document everything I could about the experience while I was going through it. And I set up a 10-day period that I was going to do nothing but analyze and research this phenomenon, this defect, neurological defect. So the first day, I began to write this down, and I had no idea, Larry. I never set out to write a book. I was keeping a journal, a diary, and I wasn't going to share it with anybody. I figured I was maybe going to go crazy, and one day they were going to find me drooling and babbling in the corner with a straitjacket, and my journal, diary, was going to be laying next to me, and somebody could figure out how I got there. That's pretty much all I thought. I had no idea that diary was going to become my book, and I really had no idea that it was going to become a #1 Times bestseller. None of that was in my planning. I figured I would live and die as an engineer, scientist, and in aerospace, I wasn't thinking of doing anything that I do presently. But that 10 days. Okay, go on.
No, as a scientist, you're obviously in tune with the scientific method of research and documentation. Mm-hmm. How did you document these events as they occurred to you? What was your method?
Everything the time I woke up, the time I ate, my mood that day, my activities that day, physical, mental, the type of stress that I dealt with, and what time I ate dinner that night, and what time I went to bed. Those were the type of things I was documenting. And what I was looking for is I was looking for a pattern. I was looking for something that occurred on the nights that I was having these experiences, so that I could try to replicate it and induce it rather than stumble upon it or it happening to me randomly like it was, because I didn't have any control at that time. So I really didn't know where this was going to end up. I was just trying to understand something and maybe get some answers. But I had no idea that the first night, now this is what some of the symptoms, and a lot of people out there have these things, and this is why it's so important for me to share this with people, because a lot of people are afraid, like I was, is that, and I had no idea these were part of the experience. One of the things I would do is I would fly in my dreams. And not only would I fly in my dreams, but I would be lucid and know that I'm dreaming. At 5 years old, I didn't know the term lucid dreaming, so I would tell my mother, oh, my God, I'm sorry, this television. I would tell my mother, Mom, I wake up in my dreams. That's as a 5-year-old, that's how I could describe it. And what I meant was I would be in the dream, and something strange would happen that I would question, and that would bring me to an awareness. And the awareness was that the dream material didn't disappear, but what changed was that I knew that it was a dream, and then I could interact with the dream material and actually change the dream or fly away or do whatever I wanted to. I was in total control of the dream after I became aware. And this would happen all the time. And it still happens all the time. And so that was part of it, and the flying in my dreams. And another thing is when I would lay down at night, and sometimes while waking up after taking a nap, I was vibrating, like the bed was shaking. And, living in California, that happens to us all the time, but that's not what I was experiencing. I was experiencing a vibration, and that was part of it. And so we had the paralysis, we had the vibration, we had the flying in my dreams and having lucid dreams, and I was having something appear in my room and touch me. So all of those things for a while were disconnected until I started keeping this journal and documenting this, and I realized that all of these things were happening on the same night, and certain things were happening repeatedly on the nights that I was having 3 experiences. Sometimes I'd have 1, but on some nights I would have 3 episodes, meaning that I would be paralyzed, and then I would have a lucid dream experience, and then that would end, and then I would be paralyzed again. I'd wake up, and I'd be paralyzed again. So this went on repeatedly. But the thing is that I didn't know this was real. I didn't know this had anything to do with the real world. Like I said, I really thought it was a dream. So at work, at Space Station, I went to a friend of mine, and I felt very comfortable with her, and I shared with her, I'm having the strangest experiences at night. And I described them to her, and she told me that she heard about this doctor who had a near-death experience and written a book about it, and she was lecturing at a local college, and that I should go and talk to her. So I took this doctor's class, and I was sitting there listening to the class. And remember, I'm skeptical. I don't believe in any of this stuff. Right. And she says, how many people in this room have ever felt paralyzed at night? And Larry, I was shocked because I'd never heard anybody outside of my family who'd ever mentioned it. I didn't know it even happened to people outside of my family. And I thought there was something strange about us. And I raised my hand up in the air, and I was waving around. I said, it happens to me all the time, and it happens to me 3 times a night. And she was the first person that pointed to me, and she said, you may be having out-of-body experiences. And I laughed at her because I thought, I said, I don't believe in that stuff. And she said, this was profound to me. She said, you can't tell me what you don't know. And I thought, okay, that sounds like a challenge to me. So I said, it's really easy for me to look into this because it's happening to me all the time. So I went home, and she said, I'll tell you what, if you find yourself out of your body, like in that dream state you were talking about, she said, think about me. Think about visiting me. And I said, okay, I will do that. So that night I had been working on this for a while, about 3 or 4 days, and I realized that one of the things that was part of it was getting very relaxed before I laid down, almost like tightening up every muscle in my body one at a time and then relaxing them. And that helped me get into the kind of a low-level vibrational dream state. And I realized the more I would relax and slow my breathing, that the more the vibration would increase. And one night while this was happening, the vibration was increasing and increasing, and all of a sudden I heard a loud pop, like pow, like something, like a cap. Yeah. And the next thing I knew, I was out of my body, and the vibration had stopped, and there was this a white wall in front of my face, a white wall, speckled wall. And I was staring at this wall thinking, what is going on here? And I realized it wasn't the wall, it was the ceiling of my bedroom. And so I turned around, and I could see two people in a bed below me. And I remember thinking, looking at my physical body. Pardon
Doc,
me?
I gotta put you on hold for a second. We're about ready to come up on our next break. It's fascinating. Folks, you want to hear more of this, so stay with us. Dr. Albert Taylor, be back in just a moment after this break.
Dreams are our personal gateways into infinite wisdom. Don't miss shamanic counselor and indigenously trained dream decoder Sandra Corcoran's inspiring book, Shamanic Awakening Between the Dark and the Daylight. This remarkable work chronicles Sandra's 35 years of experience with diverse wisdom keepers and her initiations throughout the Americas and across the British Isles, Turkey, Greece, and Egypt. Sandy's knowledge of symbology, psychology, and myth influenced her dream blog and workshops. Sandy offers private tarot readings, international journeys, a meditative CD, as well as her book, Shamanic Awakening, to encourage you as you navigate this earth walk, creating a deeper connection to yourself and all that is. Find this and more at Sandy's website, starwalkervisions.com.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
Welcome back, everyone, to Paranormal Stakeout. Tonight we've got Dr. Albert Taylor. And boy, I really hated cutting you off after that last break, Doc. But pick up where you left off, if you could. I know everybody's dying to hear the end of this.
Okay, well, I turned around and I could see two people sleeping in a bed. And the thing about it is I didn't feel that was me in the bed, one of the individuals. I felt like it was a suit of clothing, like something I had discarded. I had no connection with it at all. I knew that wasn't me. And another thing I remember thinking is, looking at myself, I thought, wow, I thought I was a lot better looking than that. So while I was looking at this, all of a sudden I realized, I thought to myself, this is, I kind of panicked because this was so out of the ordinary, and the fear that was rapidly building within me seemed to be enough to drop me literally back into the body, and I felt like I was slammed in the bed, and I woke up with a jolt, and I opened my eyes, and I grabbed my journal, and I turned on the light, and I started writing all of this down, thinking, oh my God, that was amazing. Well, the next night, I decided to do it again, and I went through the relaxation, slowing my breathing, relaxing every muscle, and the vibration started like before. But this time, something really interesting happened. Normally, I wear glasses, and normally when I go to bed, I take off my glasses and I set them on the side of my nightstand. Well, all of a sudden, I could see while I was in this paralysis, and not only could I see the room, but I was seeing it from a very odd perspective. Mm-hmm. And if I lay down in my bed physically, and my television is at the end of my bed, I have to sit up in my bed or prop my pillows up so that I can see the full screen. Because if I lay completely down, half of the screen is blocked by the bottom of the bed. But from this perspective that I was looking around the room, is not only could I see the entire screen of the television, I could see where the television touched the floor. And there was no way I could do that without standing up in my bed. And another thing that happened is that I didn't remember opening my eyes to look around. Like I said, suddenly I could see. And not only could I see, but everything was very, very clear. And I wear glasses, and unless I fell asleep with my glasses, that's not possible. That could not happen. So I was soaking in, the perspective and the glasses and everything. And while I was kind of just floating there, taking all this in, all of a sudden, and this didn't enter my mind at all until it happened. All of a sudden, about 3 feet away from me, this humanoid, transparent figure appeared out of nowhere. I panicked, Larry. It scared the life out of me. And I don't know what it was. And all I could think about, because, I've seen every horror movie and ghost story and Hollywood has ever made, and it never ends up good for the person experiencing it. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know what this is. But I thought to it, I tried to say out loud or mentally, whatever you are, please, just move away from me. Move away from me. And that fear, again, that I said I felt started escalating. And it was enough to actually feel like I was sucked back into the physical body and slammed in the body. And I woke up and I grabbed my journal, and it scared me so bad, Larry, that I went around my house turning on all the lights in the house, even turned on the light in the backyard and looked in the backyard, making sure nothing was out there. And I sat down and I wrote all this down in my journal.
This is the most profound experience you have had at this point.
Yeah, completely. I didn't, because I up until this point, I was thinking this was a dream, and now it was dream mixed with my real bedroom, almost like a virtual reality kind of thing. So that never happened before. I'd have dreams, and dreams are dreams, but now I'm floating above the bed. I can see my room. That's all real stuff. Mm-hmm. Now, the doctor, remember the doctor. So right. The next night I thought, okay, when this happens, I remember what the doctor, she said, think about me and ask to see me. So that next night after this happened, I did the relaxation routine that I was working on for the last few days, And meditation works out there too. Some people are so fortunate where they don't have to go through all the process that I do, that they can do meditation and they can project. But I hadn't gotten to that point, and still kind of difficult now. I have to do a lot of other stuff, relaxing. So I did that, and I found the bed started vibrating. All of a sudden I could see. I was floating, and this was really interesting, Larry, is I thought I had my head on my headboard, leaning against my headboard on my pillow. And then all of a sudden I could feel the headboard sliding downward, like it was moving down through the floor. But it wasn't moving down, I was moving up. It was a really, really strange sensation. And while I was moving up, I thought to myself, okay, I want to see the doctor. I want to see her, and I thought about her. And this kind of startled me. All of a sudden I felt hands, 2 hands, like somebody was there. I couldn't see them. Like 2 hands grabbed me, one on each arm, and pushed me toward the window. And as I went to the window, actually went through the window, and it was kind of like, you remember when you were a little kid? I don't know if you ever did as I did. And your mom would fill up your bath with bubbles, and like Mr. Bubble. And you could poke your finger through the bubble, but it wouldn't pop. It would just adhere to the skin, and you could actually go inside. That's what the glass felt like. It was really strange going through it, like it was kind of a bubble kind of thing. The next thing I knew, I was flying high above a neighborhood, my neighborhood, and I thought to myself, I want to experiment. So I thought, I want to fly faster. And all of a sudden, and I did. And I thought, I want to fly higher. And I did. But the thing I noticed is I wasn't in control of the direction. I could go fast and high, but I seemed to be pointing towards heading somewhere. Mm-hmm. And the next thing I knew, these hands that I couldn't see dropped me off in front of this. I remember I was coming down, and I was looking at the rooftop of this neighborhood I hadn't been to. And I thought for a moment I was going to crash into the rooftop. And then when I got to the rooftop, actually penetrated the rooftop, and I was coming down through the attic, and I could see wires and insulation and all that. And then after I entered into this room that was below that, I was in this bedroom that I had never been to. And I was looking around, and I noticed that the doctor, now I was still thinking this is a dream, the doctor that I wanted to see was laying in the bed. And I knew she was married, but I didn't know that her and her husband slept in 2 different beds. Mm-hmm. And now not only was her husband, I assume, was sleeping in another bed, he was sleeping way on the other side of the room, quite a ways away from her. And I thought, okay, if I'm really here, that's a good thing to remember. And another thing, I looked at her, and I noticed that on her leg there was a big white, it looked like a cast to me, like she had broken her leg on her knee. Uh-huh. And I thought, okay, that's a good thing to remember if I'm really here. And I rarely tell this part of it, but I did mention it in the book. All of a sudden, something brilliant, brilliant humanoid, appeared near her head, near the top of the pillow by the doctor. And it scared me because all of a sudden there's the 2 of us, the 3 of us, and then now there's a 4th person, and that terrified me. And I thought, okay, I'm ready to go back. And I felt like these hands grabbed me again. The room literally rushed away from me at an incredible rate of speed. And the next thing I knew, boom, it felt like I dropped from the ceiling into my bed and into my body, and I woke up with a start, and I grabbed my journal, and I turned on the lights again, and I wrote all this down. Mm-hmm. Now, this happened. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're writing down in the journal. Did you ever do anything like audio or videotape any of your night sessions, just out of curiosity?
No, because this was a long time ago. I mean, I wrote my book in 96. In the early 90s. Okay. And as a matter of fact, I still have the pencil diary. I wrote it in pencil. I still have it. So I was, and I was keeping a journal. I wasn't really thinking of that I was doing, legitimate research. I said, Larry, I wasn't going to show anybody this. It was not something anybody was going to see.
This is just to prove that whether or not you were You were having some sort of breakdown or something, I guess.
Trying to make sense. I was trying to make sense of something I didn't understand, and in the beginning had no control of. That's all. I just wanted to, and I was kind of thinking, because when you're in the night and the paralysis, those people who have felt it out there, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes you feel like you can't breathe. Sometimes you feel like there's a weight on your chest. Sometimes you feel like something's pressing you in the bed. It can be, if you don't know what it is, it's frightening. And my only explanation was that it was, witches were sitting on my chest to punish me. So, I wanted it to end. I didn't want it to continue.
Well, I got to know, you obviously took this information to the doctor. What did you find out?
Well, this experience happened on a Saturday. Her class was on Monday. I couldn't wait to see her on Monday. So I'm sitting in the class on Monday, and I wanted to interrupt the class, so I waited till the break. And during the break, I went over to her and I said, Doc, I had another one of those experiences this weekend. And she said, it's really interesting that you would say that, because I had a dream that you were standing at the foot of my bed on Saturday night. And I thought, is that a coincidence? Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, I had a experience that I was standing there, and I said, and I'm thinking, because she said come visit me, it was just, that's what facilitated the dream, and it was, willful thinking on my part, and I created the environment. That's what I was thinking. And I said to her, and I looked at her leg, and her leg looked fine to me, and I said, well, in my dream, you had a cast on your leg, and you look fine. She said, no, but I sleep with a heating pad, a white heating pad wrapped around my leg because I have arthritis in my knee and it makes it feel better. And I thought, coincidence? And I was really surprised. I was like, what is going on here? And then I said to her, I know you're married, but in the room I was in, you and your husband sleep in two different beds, and he was way on the other side of the room. And she said, yeah. She said, my husband has sleep apnea, and because he snores and he keeps me up all night, he sleeps way on the other side of the room so I can get some sleep. And I thought, oh, my God, what is going on here? Yeah. And so I went home, and I sat there thinking, is this real? And I thought, if this is real, what is it that can do these things in humans? What are we? And I started looking more than just, I just thought of us as, humanoid, a species of ape, an advanced species of ape. That's pretty much it, a hominid. Nothing special about us versus a chimpanzee. I didn't think of soul or some type of consciousness beyond the body. But because this was happening, I thought, there's something going on. So I went to my friend who originally told me about the doctor at the space station, and she said, if you can leave your body, she said, why don't you come visit me? She said, you don't know where I live. You've never seen my place. That would be a great experiment. And I said, okay, I'll try it tonight. So I went home. I think this was about the 6th night in a row that I was researching this and practicing it. To make a long story short, I left my body the same way I'd been, and the skills that I had been slowly developing, the techniques, I say.
And you know what, Doc? I'm going to have to interrupt you again because we're getting close to the next break. I want you to finish the story when we get back, but also I want to talk to you a little bit about your view of ghosts, as well as your view of the paranormal field and where you think we're going in paranormal research. So
sounds good.
When we get back from this last break, folks, stay with us. More fascinating stuff to come. Got Dr. Albert Taylor. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well, now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world. There's a legend shared by many indigenous cultures of a time when the nations were cast to the 4 corners of the world. Each nation was given a body of sacred knowledge that held a different portion of the truth to preserve. True reality could not be known until all the nations reunited, combining the information. If a single one was missing, the world could not be reborn and darkness would prevail. The Science of Magic Radio is dedicated to reuniting the sacred knowledge. With the understanding, none of us has all the answers, but together we can open new perceptions and possibilities. Through our combined vision, the world can be reborn into a place where darkness no longer prevails. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic daily on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, or visit us at thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome back, folks. This final segment of Paranormal Stakeout tonight. And, man, it's been a terrific interview with Dr. Albert Taylor. I just wanted to remind you of his website, www.alberttaylor.com. He's the author of Soul Traveler, and he's got a second book coming out soon, A Journey of the Cosmic Soul. So I'd invite you to check out his website and check out his books. Also want to remind you, check out other terrific broadcast programs on the X-Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net for all the programming schedule. Would also like to remind you to come and check me out. Visit me at paranormalstakeout.com. You can also get me at www.paranormalfbi.com. Check out our Facebook for my team, Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation. Dr. Taylor, we've just got a few minutes. We got so much to cover. And like I told you at the break, we're going to be rescheduling you real soon to finish up the second half of this conversation. But finish out your last, when we broke, you were telling us your workmate had said, come on over and visit me if you're able to do this.
Right.
And that's where you're heading. So go ahead and finish that story, and then I got some other things I want to ask you.
Well, I came out of the body like before, the vibration, the paralysis. And one of the things I discovered is that if I could focus my thought, like saying, I want to float upward, I actually could. I want to move toward the window, I actually could. So that was something I discovered. It was really, really important for me not to be distracted by the phenomenon, because it was so amazing just doing it, period. I could sit there and float for hours above of my body in the bedroom. So I had to focus. That was really important. I focused my thought on my friend, which I mentioned in the book. I can mention her name because it's in the book. Her name is Kim. And I felt the hands again. I couldn't see anything. Felt the hands. Went through the window like before, flying really fast. Experimented with that a little bit, and speed and the altitude. The speed was incredible. I've been on a lot of aircraft, worked on a lot of aircraft, designed a lot of aircraft. The speed was phenomenal. It was unbelievable. Nothing like I'd ever experienced before. And this time was really interesting. I found myself being dropped off, I like to say, because you're floating. It was like floating down to the street. And I was dropped off in front of this apartment building. And this is something I found out by this, is I couldn't remember where I was going. And there's a reason for that. I skip ahead because you don't have access without a great deal of concentration to your organic memories in your brain. The things that are stored in your brain, you don't have access to that. It's very difficult to gain access to that because a lot of it is trivial. It doesn't matter to you in that state of consciousness. So I had to struggle to remember, what did I want to do? And I remember, oh, yeah, I want to visit my friend. And when I said that, I felt the hands grab me and move me up to the second floor and through the wall of this apartment building. And the next thing I knew, I was in like a dining room. And I remember there was a huge chandelier in the dining room. And I thought, okay, if I'm really here, that's a good thing to remember. And I moved down the hallway, and the mobility was really strange, too. It's because I wasn't really walking. I was kind of like sliding, like Gumby used to do in the old cartoons. Yeah. And I was moving down the hallway, and I moved. There was three doors, two on the left, one on the right. And I moved into that. The one on the right was open. And I moved into that room, and it was a bedroom. And I remember thinking there was twin beds, and the window was in an odd corner of the wall. It wasn't between the two beds. It was in the corner. And I looked out the window, and I could see a telephone pole half blocking the window. And I thought, well, that's a stupid place to put a window. And I looked down below, and there was an alley and trash cans. And I thought, okay, if I'm really here, this is something good to remember. But then I start feeling like an astral cat burglar, like I shouldn't be there. And
we call it stalker in our business, but you know.
Yeah, that without any people there, I'm not a stalker. I'm a burglar. Okay. And I remember pushing out through the window like I've done before, and I was floating literally above the alleyway, maybe about second floor. And I thought, how do I get back home? And I saw the street sign, and I floated over to the street sign. I'm about eye level, and I'm looking at the street sign, and this is something else I figured out, is that I could not read the street sign. It looked like hieroglyphics. I mean, it wasn't scrambled. It probably was written in English, but it didn't make any sense, and it was trivial to the consciousness that I was occupying at that time. And so I thought, okay, I want to go home. I want to go home. I felt the hands grab me. The extreme acceleration like before, and boom, I was slammed in my body. I woke up, and I wrote all of this down. The next day, I went to work, and I went to my friend Kim, and I said, this is what happened to me. And I said, I found myself in this dining room. And she said, I said, there was this huge chandelier, too big for the room. And she said, you know, I bought a chandelier at the swap meet, and for my new house. But it's so pretty, I put it up in the chandelier, and I put it up in my dining room, and it's way too big for the dining room. I thought, okay, coincidence? And I said, the third bedroom in the back, I said, I went in the back, and there's an odd window in the corner, and she said, I don't know why they put that corner over there, because half of it is blocked by a telephone pole. And I thought, oh, my God. And I said, there's an alleyway out there. And I said, Kim, you have to do this. You have to send me a layout of your apartment. She drew me a layout of the apartment. And by this time, I had already written down in my diary how the dimension, what I saw. And she sent me a copy of her apartment layout, and it matched what I had described in my diary perfectly. And, Larry, it all shocked me and devastated me because I thought, oh, my God, what are we that we can do these amazing things? I wasn't thinking about just me. I was thinking because I knew people in my family could do it if they weren't afraid, but I thought, oh, my God. And then I started thinking, I grew up in Catholic school. I was a Catholic. I call myself a recovering Catholic now. But they always told us we had a soul, and it was like a baseball in your pocket that you take to the priest once in a while, and he would clean it for you, and you'd go home with the soul in your pocket. That's what I was taught. But I thought to myself, maybe we are these souls, where we are a soul. And it's not something we have, it's something that we are. And that's what prompted my story and launched me into pursuing this amazing part of my life.
And amazing it is. And, you it's a great description because one of the things I wanted to ask you before our time's over tonight is, what is your opinion of what a ghost is then?
In my research, we don't, I'm a member of the International Association of Near-Death Studies. I've been a member for 20 years plus. I like to say some of my best friends have died and come back. And one of the things that I talked to this little boy, who was 7 years old, and one of the things he said to me is, we are the ghosts. And that's the difference. And I had some paranormal experiences, some out-of-body experiences with deceased relatives too. So we haven't gotten to that, but maybe we'll get to it on your next show. But the thing is what I realized is that through one of these experiences with my deceased aunt is that I'm no different from her, except I have a physical body to come back to. So ghosts aren't something abnormal. They're not something that comes and goes through portholes. They're not locked away somewhere. They're here all over the place. And I always tell people, if you have an out-of-body experience and you go into the astral plane or you leave your physical body and you're afraid of spirits, that's like going into the ocean and being afraid of fish. That's where they are.
So what you're suggesting theoretically is that spirits or ghosts that are seen by us are either folks involved in out-of-body experiences or just the roaming free spirits of those that have passed. Is that close?
Well, no, yes and no. From my paranormal investigations, I call it phenomena. I don't use the word ghost. I call it a phenomena or anomaly. And the anomalies I've run into are either interactive, which I think that you could categorize if you wanted to use the word ghost. Interactive. That means I ask a question, or it answers, or it sees me, acknowledges me, that kind of thing. Then there's just images that repeat behavior that they may have done in their life. And that's the thing, is that through my out-of-body experiences, I had the outside of my body was an astral body, if you want to use that word, means of the stars. I was able, through practice and over a period of time, to actually leave that astral body behind and travel as something else that's inside of that body. So that image that people can sometimes photograph and see repeating these behaviors, that's the astral image. That's the astral form. It doesn't last long and may deteriorate over a period of time. But that's that astral. That's that suit of clothing that the spirit identity, spirit consciousness used to occupy.
Well, let me ask you this question, and I'm hoping we have enough time to answer. We've only got a couple of minutes. There are so many different theories by folks that are mediums or sensitives, clairvoyants, whatever. That none of these stories seem to always jive. They don't always seem to be the same. Why do you think that is?
This is probably the most frustrating thing I have experienced in my research of the paranormal. And I've been with people who are other researchers. I've watched the television shows, and I think that they're stuck. They're stuck on the first level, or maybe the second level, and they're satisfied with things like EVPs or saying that this is a little girl, she wants to go into the light, and we haven't, the paranormal community, because nobody else is doing it, hasn't tried to piece all these things together and come up with some type of understanding of what it all means and why does it happen to us.
And that's the difference between investigation, ghost hunting, and research. I see that as three different areas. You know, we've only got only less than a minute left, Doc. I want to invite you back in the show very soon. I want to invite all of my listeners to come back, watch for this show to come back, and we're gonna carry on when we get together again, because there's so many other questions. I want to hear more about your research and how you research, how you quantify your evidence. I'm very excited to talk to you more about that, but we, folks, are unfortunately out of time. Dr. Albert Taylor, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I want to thank all of you folks out there for being with us, and come back soon for the second half of this discussion we're going to have with Dr. Albert Taylor, scientist and paranormal researcher. Until then, folks, we'll see you next time on the other side. Larry Lawson, Paranormal Stakeout, signing off.